The 2018 Grand Final promised so much with the two best teams all year facing off. Unfortunately, the Melbourne Storm forgot to turn up with the Roosters absolutely dominating from the first whistle. It's a pretty impressive performance by the Roosters.
It was. It's hard to, congratulations to the Roosters first of all. I thought it was going to be one of these games, but I didn't think the word clinic would come up. Roosters put a clinic on Melbourne. I never thought I would be using them words in the grand final. I can remember 2008 when Manly, really put it on Melbourne, but Manly were outstanding and Melbourne had a few injuries. But for this game, with the importance and the magnitude of it, Cooper Cronk being down, Billy Slater coming back, it was such an even side. When they went through 1-17, I'm like, who's going to win?
Yeah. And
then the Roosters come out and they put a clinic on Melbourne. Jared Waerea-Hargreaves saved his best two games for the last two games of the year. Jake Friend was outstanding, Luke Keary, Latrell, the back rowers, everybody just stood up and just was absolutely on fire. And if you had to look back and you went, you know what, if the 17 best players turn up for Melbourne and they turn up for the Roosters are going to win because they've got more talent.
Yeah.
But I never thought I'd be using them words. They put a clinic on them.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Melbourne probably put on their worst performance of the year, probably in a few years. I think what happened, they just got rattled. The Roosters came out in that first 20 minutes. As you say, Waerea-Hargreaves rolling through the middle. The Roosters forwards just absolutely dominated, didn't they?
Yeah, and I was just like, you know what? I would start a Solomona because he's 6'6", 125 kilos, and they need to understand when it comes to the Polynesians playing Polynesians, Maori versus Maori, they should have said, go out there and take Waerea-Hargreaves' head off because he's the leader of that whole team. You've got the other starters, which, they're good starters, but just start that young kid, that young bull to take him on. And I thought it was a little bit of a mistake by Bellamy, or just to put him on straight away because their middle was getting rolled.
Yeah.
Just plug the holes because they can all play big minutes. So I thought it was a bit of a mistake by Belly because I think that Solomona is an absolute beast. And before he got injured, I thought he was handling everybody pretty convincingly. So he needed to take Hargreaves on. Hargreaves said, no one's taking me on.
What Melbourne have always relied on is their forwards just dominating, slowing the ruck. They couldn't do any of that. The Roosters were fighting their front. It was quick play the ball.
Yep.
And when Melbourne had the ball, they couldn't make any ground at all. The Roosters' line speed was phenomenal.
Well, that's the thing. With the Roosters, people underestimate their defence. They're the best defence in the comp.
Yeah, easily.
And that's why they could hide Cooper Cronk. Everyone's like, Melbourne. Even I was saying, they're going to get at him. They're going to get at him. Cooper Cronk was a passenger.
Yeah.
But he was out there and he toughed it out. He played that 75 minutes, done his job. His presence was massive out there. He got to his kicks. He led the boys around the field, which is people think, he only did, he got the ball 3 or 4 times or whatever and did hardly any tackles. But just his presence out there and just leading them around and telling them which way to go. And Keary pretty much taking the 7 and 6 role on. That's why I end up with the Clive Churchill.
One thing, I am absolutely smacked that you look at rugby league. Rugby league is the biggest leak fest of all time. You cannot do a thing in rugby league without someone getting hold of it. Now, for the Roosters, there was talk that the rotator cuff injury that they announced on the Sunday night was Porky's. There was some rumour around that. But for them then to be able to hide that the whole week about the actual injury is actually... It's phenomenal.
It's ridiculous, especially in today's game, in today's society.
Yeah.
You cannot hide anything. Rugby league players have the biggest mouths.
Yeah.
It's always going to get out to some sort of manager or something like that. So they obviously took a pack, and it does show. It does show how tight they are.
Yeah.
Next year, I'll be looking. That's going to be the team that's probably going to be.
They're
probably going to repeat because
Yeah.
they're going to probably get stronger next year. So
let's talk about the Cooper Cronk thing. Now, if you look at any other player in that team, if they were injured, they don't play.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
So Cooper Cronk, if you look at the way he played, he, as you say, he didn't do a lot. I'm interested, if they pick a fully fit player and they play with 13, do they win by more? Or does Cronk, his presence there, does that give them an extra leg?
I think it's his presence. I think there's only a few, and I'd only just give Cronk it now. JT and Joey, Lockie, Freddie. And I think Cronk just sneaks in there because of the work that he's done in the last 10 years. He's just the complete professional. He does all the little things that people don't really notice. As a spectator, we probably would have been looking at the game going, he's doing nothing. But his talk and the way that he controls the game is phenomenal, and they're the little 1%ers that people don't see. So I reckon if you had to chuck Sullivan in, or they had to start Orbison at 7, which they never would have, but I think the other plan was to put Sullivan at 7.
Yeah.
I just think Melbourne would have went yes and grown up another foot that they had to. And I just think once Cronk went on there, they know that he's so level-headed with stuff, nothing really gets to him. Have a look at he just won a grand final.
He's that full of painkillers.
So, yeah,
he doesn't know what's going on.
I'm not blaming them, but you can't really faze the kid.
Yeah.
He's just like he's played in so many grand finals and big games.
Well, interestingly, he's played in 8 now, which means in terms of halfbacks, he's played more grand finals than any other halfback in the world. You talk about your Joeys and your Freddies and your JTs. Now, for Cooper Cronk to have played in 8 grand finals and won the majority, even taking the asterisk ones out of it, obviously, they won those grand finals. You can't take that away from the players. They stood there with the trophy. That probably puts him in pretty elite company.
It does, especially the games. He's played, I think that was his 349th game. He's going to go around again next year. He's going to end up with, 70 games, and just his resume. He's already going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Being an immortal is obviously that next. He probably won't be an immortal, but he'll be close.
He's almost got to be in the discussion.
He'll be in the, in the discussion, but in the mix. But it's hard to get into that gang.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's a tough game.
It's like, mate, you might be getting it when you're 70 years old. Look at Norm Probyn.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just got in.
I think Melbourne. Munster's copped a fair bit of criticism. I mean, he's the first player to ever be sin bin twice in one game.
It's a fair effort.
That's a fair effort. I don't think Munster has been their best player of the year. He just took out their Player of the Year award. You can't put everything on the back of Munster.
But this is what we highlight things: Origin and a grand final.
Yeah.
If you stuff up on them levels, people just judge you forever.
Yeah.
You cannot blame Munster for that loss.
No.
He tried his ass off, but I mean, like when you're dealing with a defence that is attacking you, you can't do much.
No.
He didn't have much help.
No.
Did not have much help. He's trying to do little things, and at the end of little games, you get a little bit grubby, and he's got that in him.
Yeah.
Getting sin bin for a couple of times. Obviously didn't want to get sin bin, but I mean, like, just a couple of little grubby things like that little kick and all that kind of stuff. Like that was nothing.
No.
That was nothing. I mean, like, it was just a little bit of frustration, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to put anything on Munster. He's just like, I think everybody in Melbourne would be disappointed in their performance.
So that Melbourne side, you take Billy Slater out of it next year. They haven't bought that many players. They never do, Melbourne. No. Cameron Smith hasn't signed a contract, interestingly, but I'm imagining they will. Do Melbourne now, is that game, if we look back on it, will that be the start of the slide of that Melbourne Storm juggernaut?
I believe so. I thought it would have been a slide last year, and they end up making the grand final this year. So their culture and their coaching is second to none. I think Brodie Croft will grow another leg, and I think he'll be the proper 7 that they expected him to be this year. He fell back for about 16, 18 games, played reserve grade, then he come at the back end, played some really good football.
Yeah.
And then, you still got Munster there, but he's going to be off contract next year. You still got a great back line, good halves, good forward pack. But once Cameron Smith leaves, then we can honestly sit here and say you're going to start regressing, because you can't keep going forward. Because I don't see the next Cameron Smith anywhere. He's one in a generation.
Yeah.
But I don't see them filtering in anybody. They've got the little fellow comes off the bench. But like, he's not a 9, he's like a little lock, just a little pocket rocket. Yeah. So like, in the next year or two, it's going to be really important, and we'll see that next year. Belly probably didn't show his cards this year, but next year he'll have someone in there that he'll slide in.
We talk about Cooper Cronk and his shoulder and the courage that he showed to get through that game. Blake Ferguson played, they reckon, 30 minutes with a broken fibula on the wing, where you've got to run.
When you're going up against two of the quickest wingers.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about
the Fox and Vunivalu,
Sattler and the Jaw and I feel like Blake Ferguson's going to. There should be more talk about him.
Well, no one cares about what happens in, like, you got to be 50 years old, past like, it's got to be, what happened to Johnny Sattler in the 60s. Kenny Dow did in 2013.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are happening in grand finals, but no one gives a shit, because everyone's just talking about in the last 10 years, no one gives a fuck. But if it was 50 years ago, then you start talking. So that's how history is. That's the way rugby league is. You got to wait 50 years until something happens.
Yeah.
Until people get remembered by that.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Dow's effort in 2013. That was the first hit up.
Yeah.
And then he plays 80 minutes. And it's not like wingers were wingers from 20 years ago. He's doing 20 touches a game.
Yeah.
You might be in there in defence, but blokes are still hitting him around the head. And that, back in 2013, you can still fight. You can still hit a bit high. So, You know, people like that, and they should get credited, and they will, but it just takes time.
Luke Keary was given the Churchill, which I don't think anyone could argue with, in terms of the most important award, which is best post-grand final performance.
Yeah.
Dylan Napper walking down Oxford Street, still in his kit, boots on, the next morning. It's got to go down as one of the
That's one of the
greats.
best I've seen.
Yeah.
He just
Imagine
walked,
the
he
stench
walked
on him.
he would stink of
He'd
champagne,
stink.
beers, smoke, everything. It was just, it's ridiculous. Him walking down there, full kit.
Full kit.
Like it was just like he was walking onto ANZ to watch
Yeah.
to play the grand final.
Yeah.
He knew that, you know, that everyone, and it was great that the media didn't really make a big thing out of it. It was fun. He stayed. It's a massive effort. He's in his kit for 15 hours.
Yeah.
It's huge. He went into nightclubs. Nightclubs let him in.
24 hours where he's allowed to do that, I'm pretty sure.
You own the city. He had a week to do it.
It's over now.
As soon as you have that premiership ring, you can do what you want. You got the keys to the city.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be getting into any bars with his
his kit
football
on
kit
now.
anymore. But
Yeah.
respect to Dylan Napper. He come off the bench. It was a beast. So I think everyone to the Roosters, just their whole team and club. Congratulations. You deserve it. You were the best team, and you got the job done.